from San Francisco. Uh, I really appreciate you taking out time for this presentation. And first of all, I would like to thanks or give a thanks to Rahul Jeevne, who has been really instrumental in making this presentation possible. And also, I would like to thank all my friends of MNREC from where I graduated in the year 1992. And also, I would like to thank Dr. S. Ramareddy of LR Tiwari College of Engineering, uh, who has been uh, really a motivation for all the people in the college so that this program is kicked off. So that being said, really, you guys can take your time and you can uh, start with the uh, program. And in the meantime, I will start with the slide deck. So, friends, this topic for today's discussion is digital technologies in healthcare. And basically, I wanted to provide a kind of an overview of the technologies, the digital technologies, and also give an insight based on my experience. And then in the end, I would request that we can hold on for any questions that you guys have, and we can I can try to answer those questions in the last 15 minutes. So I'm expecting this session to be around uh, 1 to 2 hours, depending on how the flow of the discussion goes, and based on that, then we can continue. So, in terms of say, for example, uh, the agenda for the discussion today is introduction, professional background for myself, the inspiration for this discussion, as well as what I uh, have been thinking about mainly for presenting this, and why are we having this discussion today? Besides, of course, the introduction to digital technologies. When we say digital technologies, it's blockchain, cloud computing, IoT, cybersecurity. These are the ones which are mainly at the forefront. So any impact that we want to have on the industry, specialize in, we would be able to build a career for ourselves in the next 10 years at least, I would say. So that being said, uh, I would first okay, I would start with a disclaimer. This being a healthcare, being a regulated industry, uh, I would say that this presentation that is being shared is mainly the handiwork of myself, as well as the based on the experience that I have had in the previous organizations, and the intent is purely learning, educating myself, or as well as others, and also learning more about what the industry offers or the technology offers for different aspects of the healthcare industry. So this does not mean that any organization, anything that I share should be taken against the in the court of law. I'm talking about, say, copyrights or something. So moving on to where am I situated right now? I'm at around 40-45 minutes drive from a beautiful Golden Gate Bridge. This was one of the this is one of the oldest suspension bridge, and you can see the majesty of this bridge, the way it is developed, and it stands strong even now. It was built by, or initially designed by, an civil engineer, Joseph Strauss, and this was in 1917, and even today, this is standing tall without any kind of issues. So these are like, this is considered one of the marvels of the world. And also, I would like to say that, I want to have this healthcare discussion, keeping in mind that when we work with something, we want to work with all the passion behind it. And this bridge is nothing but a result of a passion that Joseph Strauss had when he designed this bridge. So with that being said, uh, I'd like to introduce myself, professional. What have I been doing since last few years? Basically a program delivery manager, about 25 plus years of experience. Graduated in year 1992. Been in the industry, mainly in the services sector, and also in the last about 15, 20 years, been involved with healthcare, financial, and technology domains. I'm a certified Six Sigma Black Belt as well as a Agile professional, and I have uh, in the previous roles that I've had been associated with organizations like TUG Germany, as well as had some good experience in the auditing when I was in India before moving to US. So just to give you as to how the life has evolved for me. Initially, took up when I started my career, is joined as a industrial engineer, and basically started doing time and motion studies. And when an engineer joins a technology or joins an industry which is basically manpower related industry, so normally management wants to use the engineer in identifying how well or how productive the manpower is, and how we can get the maximum benefit or maximum use of it by by having trade negotiations. So I found myself in the middle of this trade negotiations initially when I joined, but somehow there was within me, there was an inner voice which was kind of always interviewing me, and saying that, Muneesh, when I have become an engineer, why should I be used as an instrument to really lay off people, or poor workers, or organizations, somebody who's working for his livelihood. And I would rather use the knowledge that I have gained, or work in an industry where I can help the clients and make a benefit or make best use of the uh, knowledge that I gained from the professional field. So that's how my career started, and I joined a consulting firm that was ABC Consultants. Later on, I joined a German regulatory body, and been fortunate to really audit about 100 plus firms before I moved on to information technology field. And this was in 99, 98, 99. And after that, then I when I moved to you like when I moved to US, I moved to US in around 2006. I started doing a lot of programs uh, in the regulated environment. And in terms of my exposure during the past 20, 25 years, been fortunate to basically work at the following locations. That has basically helped me in widening the perspective while working, as well as learning about the cultures within the organizations, as well as the places where I worked on. So mainly, when I speak to you, I do not speak with any particular market in mind. I want to just want to give a perspective which is neutral, as well as which is something which is relevant towards the market, or towards the business or hospitals within our country. This basically is, I'm also a partner in one of the organizations. It's a startup company called Focus Team. Mainly, we are, focusing on something that, you know, I want to do when I say, uh, that's my like core competence. What is it that I want to do in the next few years? Basically, that's what is kind of overall plan that I have in terms of the next few years, and also help the industry in any way in terms of health, healthcare, financial programs in the digital world, and make positive contributions towards the challenges that are being faced by the management in those in the technology field, as well as in managing the systems within the organizations. So, coming on to why this topic, I would say, the reason for this being, when we look at the professionals around us, there are three types of people. One are teachers, the second is preachers, and the third one is practitioners. So, me being like, I love the tag of being a practitioner early on in my career. I started doing a lot of process-based consulting, and I really enjoyed. So in the next few years, I also want to undertake more teaching assignments or work within the teaching, so that basically I also not only take but also contribute to the growth of the professionals like yourself, as well as other people within the new generation that is coming up, which is so exciting. And I want to contribute towards their growth, as well as also help the teams in being successful in the healthcare field. And coming on to why healthcare, this is like something which is really close to the heart, and very relevant in today's environment. uh, After COVID, uh, fiasco, this is really becoming like something which is everybody is really concerned about, because we have literally ignored the healthcare in the last 70 75 years. After we became independence, we did make hospitals, but our focus within the organization, or within the percentage of GDP, whatever grants or whatever money that was supposed to be done in the healthcare, was something that I would say was missing, and we really should have done more, rather than investing in some of the other areas. So that being said, I would say uh, my this is my view, personal view, that we should have invested, or we should have really come up with more hospitals, or some more infrastructure, considering the population that we have in the country. Uh, last I checked, it was about 1 in 1,000 number of beds which was there. So if we look at it, there are a lot of areas of improvement, but I don't want to be really critical. I want to take it as an opportunity wherein we can work as a team, and help the administration, as well as help the uh, management within the organizations, to come up with solutions which are realist, as well as which are relevant, and which are futuristic. So that being said, we want to make sure that we come up with some program strategies, or some fast call to action, so that we come out of this situation immediately. At the same time, we also have a vision for a beautiful growth in the future. So the reason being that we don't want to develop a strategy too late in the game, because there's no point in having a strategy when the war is over. We have been in this war. If we say in the last few months, our healthcare professionals and warriors have really done an instrumental job. Even the societies have come up with a lot of work or a lot of help in supporting the initiatives by the government. But our role doesn't end here. Our role has to be really in making best use of the resources, and also uh, supplement the efforts which are being undertaken by the government. So that being said, I would say all of us should also do an introspection and see where we can help by even learning more about the healthcare, by learning more about uh, the ways by which we can control our health much more effectively. At the same time, also help others around us so that they achieve maximum out of their life as well. So this COVID-19 has been kind of a something which is really sad. At the same time, there is a positivity that we have to look out within this environment as well, and also see that this is something that God has given us an opportunity to really do an introspection and also do something which we were not able to do in our professional life, and an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to be with the family, opportunity to really look critically in terms of what is the purpose of life and how we can really attain maximum benefit out of it. So that being said, I would say the inspiration that I take is from Swami Vivekananda, and this is like very close to not only me, it is close to my family as well. And this basically this is a kind of a statement that he gave: arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. And this is pretty much written in gold. And whenever, like, if I feel distressed, or somebody who's really not really not happy, if you look at it, there is so much meaning to it, and something which is really inspired for the last 100 years. These This term, or this kind of goal, the method of attaining the goal has uh, been really inspiring. And when we say Swami Vivekananda, the contribution, he was a big saint. Unfortunately, he died at a very young age of 39, but he gave us what you know we haven't been able to achieve even 10% of it in at least, I would say, in the last 50 years. Even I have not even achieved what he has achieved in 39 years. So that being said, like, if we look at it, uh, I'm trying to open a website of Swami Vivekananda Medical Mission, which basically is an umbrella organization, which is an organization. I hope you are able to see this. And this is something which is kind of really a very down to earth organization. This particular organization is in Nagpur, and last when I saw that our the number of incidents were incidents in Mumbai were on the rise. I said to myself that when I speak to everyone, I would definitely cite this as an example where we have we have such a beautiful organization. Lot of workers are there who are working voluntarily, and who provide service free of cost to people. And that is something that we need to really take it to other parts of the country as well. I remember when I was growing up, I we had a doctor who used to be our family physician, and he used to go to a village near us, and during his last few days, he used to really look at the patients, even though he was so old he was not able to see, but with experience he was able to judge the kind of problems that people were facing, and he was able to cure them or give them that medicine, or give them some relief which they were looking for. So they so that was something that inspired me, and I said to myself that sooner or later, whenever I get a chance, I'll definitely want to do something uh, about this organization, and also help in making some contribution towards it. So that is something that I want to do, not only now. That is something my family as well as my elders have been associated with. So that's something that I want to pursue in the future as well. Okay, so coming on to the professional work, what I have in front of you is a scaled agile framework. This is a something which is a framework which is designed by the organizations in an agile environment, wherein when we give a vision to the teams which are working within the projects. They work with the product owners who are basically uh, nothing but the business representatives, and they work parallelly in the teams so as to do iterations in terms of development, iterations in terms of work that is needed. And my uh, my goal is also to help the organizations. Not only uh, my request to you as well would be that you should learn as much as you can when you're working in the industry about the agile framework, because this is something which is going to stay for long. And we have been working in the healthcare industry. There are a lot of programs or projects which are being executed in a agile framework or agile methodologies, and we really have to uh, become like practitioners in this field, where we are able to continuously learn and adopt and continuously improve, and really make changes as per the in terms of what the business is asking. And in the past few years, I would say, working in the industry, if I look at it, really it has been somewhat of a challenge. I must say, uh, if we look at it, it's something which is like a necessity now. We have to adopt it. There is no way we can uh, slow down the progress, and we cannot really depend on uh, those age old methodologies, the documentation or the procedures which used to be there, and which are not very relevant now. But at the same time, we have to have some kind of knowledge sharing within the teams happening on a continuous basis, so that when we execute the programs, we make the best use of their experience, and also we make improvements on a daily basis. So when we okay, so that's the kind of a overview of the uh, framework that I wanted to give to you. uh, we I know we spoke about, or my friend Rajiv yesterday gave a beautiful presentation on the blockchain, and how it is so important in the current environment, and what was the history behind it. I would say, in the current environment, if we look at it, uh, it's not only in the automotive industry or the industries, financial industry, but in today's environment, even in healthcare environment, blockchain is going to be a game changer. It's going to come sooner or later. That's the reality. The reason being that there are ways by which the organizations can really improve their efficiencies. They can eliminate the middle people who are basically doing non-value added activities, or they basically uh, having some kind of share within the value chain. But at the same time, the this particular technology is something which is futuristic, and in the coming few years we have to really get some programs or projects initiated within the organizations, if we haven't, so that we are able to build a trust within the within the systems, and also kickstart those initiatives. So if we look at it, transparency, trust, this intermediation, uh, auditability, the smart contracts. So these are the, like if we look at it, five components or five pillars on which blockchain is built. And we basically have to ensure that any transactions which are happening are really happening in a trustworthy manner. And also the by creating you know an auditable documents, we we are building something which is going to be relevant, not only in our country but also in the other parts of the world as well. So it's something which is like, if someone says that, oh, I found a cure today, but that needs to be validated as well. So considering if in case there are clinical trials or some other studies which are required for the tested population, we should be able to immediately notice not only what is happening in our part of the country or our part of the world, but also globally, which is what is the essence of it, which is what is the reason why this is so important for us to learn about the blockchain, and also make those changes in the systems which can help in removing the help in removing those redundant records. If we look at it, and it's very important to understand, or it is very important that we need to know where we are before we make a target. And if we look at it, really, if we go to doctors in the clinics, we everybody has their own systems. And when we when we see whether it is their IT systems or their medical records or their patient systems or their middleware, their insurance providers, the there is a lot of opportunities for us to really make improvements in those systems or applications if we have a technology solution based on blockchain. This basically is going to really radically help the organizations which are small, not only small clinics or even mid-sized organizations who can really reap the benefits of it. The reason being that digital technology nowadays is offering so much of value to the healthcare field, or not only not only to healthcare, to the industry, that things like cloud computing, things like IoT, all these things are, or all these platforms are really helping the organizations becoming really better and proactive, and really the the amount of time that was required by doctors to really understand the uh, understand the gravity of the situation, or understand what type of treatment he has to impart to the patients. All that is something which is like really uh, you know uh, reduced to minimal nowadays. during my experience, I've seen doctors operating in US, uh, or they are leading the operations in a different part of the world, and giving the instructions sitting in US. Same way, I've seen doctors in India sharing their expertise and imparting or guiding the treatments of the patients around the world. So that is such a big advantage that we have as a country. If we look at it, India has got a huge huge pool of senior doctors and surgeons and medical professionals, which other part of the world they are really lagging in, and that's the reason why this situation is was so critical. And but we have something which is we have a strength. At the same time, we have some areas where we need to improve. We need to improve in terms of medical records, the pharma supply chains. We need to have implementation of smart contracts, and areas where payments or remittances can be done by people like us. We have families all over the country. I have family in India, and in case of any remittances, I should be able to really transfer any money without having uh, any intermediaries in between. The same way, when I need some help, someone in the other part of the world, if in case is known, or a family person should be able to support me without having any kind of kind of intermediaries in between. So that's something that is really benefit, the big benefit out of this, and we can learn a lot in this area as well. If you have any questions, I would say park those questions for the last 15 minutes, and we will really, I'll try to answer those to the best of my abilities. And in case you would like to, uh, write to me, I'll also publish my email address. You can send it to me as an email as well. Coming on to supply chain, pharma industry being one of the regulated industry, it has the highest standards in healthcare. When I say highest standards means it's a regulated environment, so we need to comply to a lot of standards like HIPAA, the ISO standards. There are also good manufacturing practices. Then in the then FDA approvals. So these are the areas where this blockchain is something that is going to be really helpful, because it helps in maintaining a trust. At the same time, it helps in auditability. So if in case tomorrow FDA comes in and they want to audit, or want to have a audit of a particular drug being launched in the market, they should be having a clear audit trail and see what was the clinical trials done, what were the corrective actions taken, what were the impact of the drug, if in case there were any side effects, what was those, and whether there are any kind of changes that are required in the those clinical trials in the different phases. Similarly, there are applications in genomic markets. When I say genomic markets means when we are trying to understand the or do a mapping of the genes. So this is something which is a trying to understand how the DNA is mapped with the uh, genes, and also for particular structure for doing the studies on the patients. We are able to basically establish relationships for the patients, and also the proteins for different species. So that being said, I think I don't want to get too deep into blockchain. it is something that has been already covered. Satoshi Nakamoto initially created a Bitcoin, and then everybody knows. Right now, I think the last I checked, the value of this Bitcoin is about, I think, around $9,000, which is like something which is really surprising or really astonishing. Similarly, there are also other cryptocurrencies which are coming up. The second one that I know is Etherscan, which was developed or which was invented by a young Canadian programmer, uh, Vitalik Buterin, and mainly, these are like two currencies which are very popular. The purpose of these cryptocurrencies is nothing but basically when we are doing a value add, if somebody does a value add for me, like if you remember, like when we used to read stories, when a king used to be very happy, he would give gold coins. Similarly, it is nothing, this is nothing but uh, similar to that story where, if anybody does some work or some value add, we basically have a transaction which is enabled, and we can do an electronic transfer of funds by giving him a percentage or whatever is the by giving him a by signing him some money in the purse, electronic purse, which is there. So the similarly we can enter into smart contracts. We say smart contracts, uh, these are not like written contracts. These are something like a protocol uh, that is being used by people within the decentralized blockchain system. And when we say decentralized, means a person sitting in Europe can do a smart contract with a person sitting in Dubai, or similarly, it's likewise in the other markets as well. So it's something like a transaction protocol that executes the terms of the contract, and the reason why it is so popular again is it has a audit trail, and there is element of trust. There are These are secure transactions, and anybody, if the government says, or if anybody wants to get into the details around where what was this transaction done, uh, we can get into the audit trail and see where this stands. So I'll take a small pause here, and if I may request, I would like you to answer a small quiz. It's a very small quiz. uh, I would request to give the answers in your chat window. That way, I can also see. And Praveen, if you can help me in, maybe I could see the some of the responses that I'm getting. Okay, so the first question I have, or first is, when you want to judge a system in a hotel or an office or a place of work in 10 minutes, uh, what is it that, you know, how you can assess the systems within the organization if you just need to do it in simple, say, fast track manner? Any responses? I'm not able to see anything, but I would say, like in terms of responses, Friends, I'm not able to see any responses. So I would say I'll hold on to it before I see some of those responses, and then I can give some answers. The second one is when you want to judge an economy at a place of visit or in a city in 10 minutes, how would you be able to do it? What is the way to check it? And when you want to improve the performance of the team workers, then what do you do it? What do you do? What is your approach or adopt? What is the manner in which you can really help in improving the performance? So, friends, I'm not able to see the answers, but let me share the answers. Okay. So the answer for the first one is when you want to judge or when you want to assess the systems in a facility, be it a hotel, a hospital, a place of work, you need to go to the loo. Go to the loo and see how well it is kept. If the system is working fine over there, that means the system within the organization is working fine. If it is not, then you can simply go out of that facility, and you can really judge how it is operating. I've seen like best of hospitals. Sometimes there are so many nice structures which are made, but somehow when we go to the loop, we find that those are badly kept. That shows the amount of lethargy that is there in the system, which basically is uh, not able to do the upkeep of the sanitation, the hygiene, the health, and uh, you know upkeep of the facilities within the organization. Similarly, when you want to judge an economy at a place of visit, when you are visiting a place, the best would be when you see the airport, you'd be able to assess or you would be able to assess what is happening in the city, or what is happening in the place. An airport or a station is something where you can really assess whether the economy is booming or whether the economy is really not doing that well. So that's something. This is based on my experience that I'm sharing. And the third, which is really important, is when you want to improve the performance of the team workers. A lot of people, they take the team workers out for lunch, or they give them words or rewards. I would say the best, out of my experience I've seen, when you want to improve the performance of the team workers, improve the quality of the food that they are getting. And when we say, not only this is not, I'm not talking only for the team workers, I'm talking about anyone. Whenever, if we uh, if we are feeding the kids, if we improve the quality of the food that they eat, their performance is going to improve. If we are giving within the team uh, the quality of food that they are used to at home, or maybe even better, then what's happening is we are encouraging the people to share their good experiences. Or this is something that I have experienced, not in one program, I have experienced in multiple programs, in pretty much all the programs that I've worked in. In some of the places I've seen, like sometimes people have a lot of egos. There are managers, there are directors, there are senior people. Sometimes they don't come out, they don't want to discuss. But when you have a quality food that is being distributed and something which is being shared by the team, everybody wants to share the good things that they want or that they have. And then that's when your positivity starts coming out. That's when you start interacting well. That's when you are able to really understand, okay, what the other person's is talking, and whether we are able to really work as a team, or whether there is something that we need to really improve in the future. So that's something that I just want to give as an insight. These are based on my experience. I don't say that this is something that you would find it in books or something, but this is again, if you look at it scientifically also, there is a lot of research which has been done, and based on which it is being said that you are nothing but as a result of food that you eat. So that's something that I want to share as a experience. So right now we are at about, I think, 20 minutes or 20 slides down the line. I would just want to give a pause. Don't want to rush through the things, and just want to give everybody a chance, so that if in case you would like to have some break, uh, maybe a cup of coffee or a tea or something, you can take the break, and then we can maybe meet after say 3 or 4 minutes. How does that sound? Sorry for the interruption. Are you able to hear us? Says no audio. They say no audio. They say there is no audio. Okay. All right, gentlemen. So moving on, we basically wanted to discuss more about the cloud technologies. Uh, this this has already been discussed earlier by my friend Prashant, and also I would just wanted to touch upon this. I wanted to spend some more time on an important topic, which I just wanted to focus more on that. So here I just wanted to share that mainly when we are talking about the cloud technologies like soft yeah, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service. These days there are also like robotics as a service which has evolved. And nowadays even people are saying everything as a service. Now you can even perform data analytics as a service. You can uh, offer any kind of technology solution as a service, and the service providers are now willing to go that extra mile, and help the customers in building a system or an infrastructure which basically helps them in having a secure transactions, as well as they are able to reduce the costs. So the purpose of this is, and when I say the uniqueness of the you having cloud technologies, is that when we are having those big data centers which are mainly using, or which are capturing so much of data, like there is data from the devices, there is video data, there are emails. There's so much of data that is being transmitted and received by the different devices. uh, the the these the services that are being provided by organizations like, say for example, AWS, the Amazon, which is like a leader. Similarly, Microsoft, they have a product. So there are solutions which are available, which basically helps you in reducing the cost of operations. Not only operations, they help you in reducing the cost of maintenance of the facilities. Gone are the days when we used to have like heavy servers and uh, features or heavy machines within the organizations, which would be maintained by organizations, uh, and only control the data in a secure environment, just to say. In terms of the trends which are happening now, the organizations these days are moving away from their brick and mortar. The only caveat here is the security, which is one of the main concerns when people uh, talk to the, or when the service providers talk to the management at the client organizations. And nowadays there are so many softwares, there are so many solutions which have come, which basically help in organizations to really have their you know electronic records, their financial data being on the cloud. So that being said, I'm just sharing one of the examples of a software as a service. So this year, in in I think around January or February, uh, Adobe launched its new product called or AEM, which is like Adobe Experience Manager, which basically is a cloud service offering. There are there are offerings like this by software service providers, SaaS providers, which basically help in providing the end-to-end solution to the customers in the market, so that they can maintain their websites, they can share the data insights, they can see when what kind of market uh, development plan that they have, and based on that, then based on the say launch that is required or marketing campaign is required, the organizations can use the AEM as a cloud service to really manage their campaigns and do the job which used to take months, is now being done in weeks. The the solution nowadays which are happening, these technologies are enabling the organizations in uh, doing their marketing campaigns so dynamically that you will be really surprised how a multiple locations at multiple geographies, uh, the customizations are happening on the website. So say for example, we have a student market or students in one part of the country where which are basically the target market segment. The website is being able to really customize based on that particular market segment, and we are able to then launch that product and basically use the medium so that those customers are attracted towards the website. And that's once we have the customers, we have the business coming in, and that's when the the bell starts ringing and money starts flowing. And then the management wants to give some return on investment. So those days when businesses used to have uh, heavy infrastructure, or those systems where the organizations used to have big offices or big restaurants, those restaurants are now getting closed. Now people are really going on online, ordering everything in terms of products, services that they want, sitting at home. Not only sitting at home, people want things to be delivered at the click of a button from their mobile. Sitting in the car, they want to test uh, or check, okay, how much is the business, how much is the balance in my account, how much is the money that I need to spend on my credit card in the next 1 week. There are systems that are getting developed in the digital world within the financial organizations, where things like Alexa, things like all the banks have their chatbots, which enables the customers to interact and really do the transactions do the transactions while they are working on office, while they are commuting to office. So these type of technologies, the way this world is has been taken by storm by a digital world, is all because of one thing. And everybody who said or everybody who are like really sitting and reaping the rewards of their investments, they were taken by storm because of this something called a smart device when Apple launched the phone. And that's when people started the realizing how important it is for the businesses to have the digital or technology, or the investments in the digital technologies. Okay, moving on to the next topic, the IoT. Now, IoT is nothing but interconnected devices, which basically are transmitting and receiving data, and these are basically being provided, or these technologies are things like, uh, say, Google Assistant. Now, sitting at home, I can check how is the weather outside. I normally play my morning ragas on a Google Assistant. I give instruction to Google Assistant to really tell me what is the latest movie that has come in Bollywood, what is the latest song that has come, what is the most popular song from different, any kind of favorite musician. Similarly, there are other interconnected devices which are being used, like cameras. We have security cameras which are transmitting and receiving data, which constantly are being used to have a effective, secure security system around around the place where we are staying. And this is not something that is that is happening only in US. There are smart smart homes nowadays is something which is happening uh, you know all around the world. People are living in uh, people are living closer to the nature. People want to have less interaction with the devices, but at the same time they want to make sure that their businesses are being taken care of. And for that, IoT devices are really helpful. And same way, when we are, say, talking to about, say, healthcare field, people are, or the doctors can see what is happening in their clinics while they are having their lunch, or when they want to if they have some time, they can test, or they can check, okay, uh, how many or what team members are doing, how is that patient for whom I checked the temperature few months, like few minutes back, whether he is responding or not. Because now these days, IoT devices, everything is on the camera devices. You can see how the patient is responding to a treatment, what is his health parameters, and everything is kind of connected with the devices. And the person who's sitting or who's managing his healthcare system can see th- what improvements or what action that he needs to take, so as to prevent any kind of deterioration in the health of the patients there. Okay, moving on to a very important topic, which is again a very hot topic. Now, this is something which is like, if we look at it, people within the industry are losing losing millions and billions of dollars because of the cyber attacks, or because of the uh, you know malwares, or because of some kind of attacks by the, say, uh, customer, or by unauthorized identities who are basically trying to understand or trying to judge how how this business is operating, and how can I uh, extract more money out of those people by fooling them. People who are not really having any kind of background in the technology these days are really getting, or falling prey to cyber security breaches. Now, in this case, I would cite an example, and this is a real life example. One about 2 months back, I got a message on my WhatsApp saying that you have been selected by Facebook, by Mark Zuckerberg, to get a prize of, say, whatever amount, because you have such and such, you have passed this criteria, and your profile has been selected because of this. And straight away they started interacting with me, trying to really make fool of me by trying to extract my personal information. And this is something which is really happening, I would say, in the last 4 or 5 months. This is peaked, and nowadays it is very important for all the systems, the organizations, to have secure systems within their organizations, to have password policies which are very strict, and to put in the controls so that only authorized people are able to gain access to those systems, or they are able to gain access to the devices. There are there are organizations. Now, when we say the cybersecurity, the hackers, we come across as if, do you think it could be a hacker who's somebody who's like having a mask, and who's like looks like a uneducated youth who would be trying to fool me? The answer is no. There are nowadays organizations who are there are businesses who are basically built around this model, where they are trying to cheat the people, the innocent people, about their financial transactions, and extract maximum benefit out of them by fooling it. There are organizations, or there is an organization in, say, Philadelphia, and which basically you know which basically you know you helps, or basically help the to basically break the code. uh, they charge something like $20 to $30. They And then they can decipher the password. They can check what kind of password is being used. They can do an email spam. They'll charge something like $20 to $30. So this is like a menu list. You want to you go to that organization, you tell them, okay, I want to get the customer data of this organization, and I want to have the market data of this organization. What is the cost? And they will give you a rate, and which basically you are going to be surprised at the kind of data insight that they'll provide you, that you would not be able to even judge that whether you had these kind of technologies available. They are using advanced systems, advanced machine learning algorithms, the technologies to basically break the codes and then also provide you the information that you're using. So again, there are all kind of people. There are people who are part of the problem. There are people who are part of the solution. So the choice is amongst us whether we want to be part of the problem or whether we want to be part of the solution. A part of the If we want to be part of the solution, we have to take those corrective actions. We have to put some controls, and we have to really help the organization in building a robust system so that these kind of attacks are prevented. Now, this is another example that I'm sharing. There was this blogger called Krebs, which basically, tried, or which basically it has its own. He had his own website in the year 2016, and he basically tried to, expose the cyber criminals. And based on his findings, and I can share the website details, and they provide a lot of insight about what is happening in the market, where the data breaches happened, where the corrective action needs to be taken. The the what happened was, in this case, the criminals basically got behind that person, and basically the person had to turn down his website. Imagine you had to close your business because you were ethical in your approach, and you were trying to be a whistleblower and trying to expose an organization who was trying to cheat and basically get the cyber attacks within the market. And this organization basically, the culprits or the people who were getting exposed, they then got after this website, and there was a denial of service. So when we say denial of service, what does that mean? A denial of service is something like, as a service provider, say, I have a service provider called, say, Comcast, which would say that, sir, we can't maintain your website because it is too heavy, or this network is beyond me to manage. I cannot really manage your business. Will have to turn on your website. And this kind of event basically drew a lot of attention towards this blogger, who was basically uh, you know kind of working as a whistleblower, and his business was restored later on. Eventually, he was able to restore his business. But basically, basically, camera-based IoTs, or devices were being used to decipher the codes. Okay, so let's move on. Uh, you would like to discuss anything about the topics related to blockchain, the cloud technologies, or the cybersecurity, we can discuss this. And please park your questions, and we'll have a few minutes in the end, and I'll try to answer those questions as much as I can. Otherwise, you can write to me, and I'll be happy to answer you to those questions. Okay. Let's move on. right now I am talking about, say, environment management system. Now, this is, you will say, okay, what is an environment management system got to do with the digital transformation? The answer is, it is as important for us to maintain the technology as it is to maintain the environment as well. There are things like biohazard wastes. There are wastes which are coming out of the hospitals. We need to really maintain the systems within these, healthcare facilities, so that we are able to dispose of those syringes, those medical, products, or those medicines which are being used and also being utilized to give the treatments. There are a number of people uh, who have been affected because of this COVID situation, but people are getting afraid of this. The answer is, we have to really be aware as to what what is the cause of the problem, whether it is due to the uncontrolled systems that we have, or whether it is something that we are really not aware of in terms of what that particular kind of waste is. Being from Delhi, this is one of the very sensitive topics for me as well. I've seen number of times the city has come as one of the topmost, environment, like some of the topmost cities in the world which is polluted. But at the same time, I would say we have a positivity there. The reason being that there is a big intelligentsia that is there in the organizations, which is the guiding force. 10 years from now, people will basically will be talking about futuristic technologies. We are able to see even now the the because of the reduced emissions, we are able to have better environment systems, or better environment within the cities. So this basically, in the slide I have talked about, in the hospitality business, how the cybersecurity has, really affected the systems there, and this was like one of the examples there. I would share these slides at the end, so I would, request you to also look at some of the terms which have been captured. This is basically, I have taken from international standards, which basically help in identifying and implementing these techniques within the organization, within the IoT devices, within the data centers. These are the controls which basically help in having a sound system within the organization, so that they are able to uh, you know they are able to maintain their infrastructure well. Now, this is something I would say I have shared some of the slides which are based on my experience. I have implemented some implemented data center implementations, as well as implemented SAP HANA, installation. So this can be taken as an example from the software as a service, basically. Okay, so coming on to the next inspiration, here we have our father of the nation, and one of the one of the best statements that I really enjoyed, or which I basically imbibed in myself, was when I was working in my first organization, and one of my president, he he basically introduced me to this concept. He says that Mahatma Gandhi, when he was, this is like a statement from Mahatma saying that a customer is the most important person visiting our premises, and he is not an interruption in our work. He is the purpose of it. We are not doing him a favor by serving him. He is doing us a favor by giving us a chance to serve him. Now, if we look at it, you see the meaning of it, what Mahatma wanted to communicate as to how the the service to the poor or service to the people should be done. And if we look at it, we have miles to go before we really take care of the people within the hospitals, within the medical facilities. Often we find that people are suffering because of, say, bad infrastructure, because of some lack of funds. There are a number of areas, but we basically have to understand their situations, or we have to be proactive and help in making making the experience for the customers a memorable one, wherein they recommend the good solutions, or they recommend that facility to the others. I won't touch upon it because this is like a sensitive topic. I don't want to get into it, but there are, there is a new norm nowadays, I would say. A new norm is that we need to forget about what the what the religions are for us, whether it is Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, whatever is there, the different religion. We need to learn humanism first, and we need to make the best use of the power of music. And when we say make the best use of power of music, I have seen people who are in their last few days or months. If we give them some access to the say the music that they want to hear, it gives them a healing, or they are able to heal much faster. And this has been proven by scientific studies as well, that music is something uh, that helps in improving the performance. It helps in healing, and it helps in basically uh, having a better kind of overall mental health being well-being for the person who's suffering. This slide deck I've prepared just as an input for the artificial supply intelligence in the pharma supply chain. When we say pharma supply chain, we have, there are a number of areas where we can reduce the time to say capture, or time to market, by improving the or by implementing these solutions. So that is something which is like an opportunity for us within the pharma sector. Okay, so now this is an example that I have shared, is in one of my previous data migrations that I did in a data migration program. And this was done in one of the sites, which is like on an island in a place called Papua New Guinea, which is like a PNG, which is like a uh, island near Australia. Now, this basically involved, what I'm trying to communicate here is the kind of efforts which are required to be coordinated when we are implementing a data migration program in a data center. And this is something like we need to be proactive in terms of our preparation. The the effort for planning in the initial phases proves or it basically helps in making sure that whatever projects we take or whatever work we take are implemented successfully. Now, in this case, we are talking about, say, hardware delivery. We are talking about EMC infrastructure by another subcontractor or yeah, Dell. Yeah. And then there is installation for racks, the power, the networking infrastructure, the servers, the migrations for the applications, and then all the different preparations which are required to be done in terms of hardware delivery, in terms of networking readiness, in terms of data center readiness. This is something which is like a planning document that I kind of used during my you know project implementation, which I've kind of cited as a work example. And this is me smiling with the one of the persons in the offices, and this is somebody, or these people. If we look at it, if we look at them, they are like called Papuan tribes. If we look at the say Google search in the and around Australia, we find this is a beautiful island called PNG, and these Papuan tribes, there are 100 such tribes. And when we look at the way these people are living and the kind of lifestyle that they have, we really feel, or I really feel, how much I would say blessed we are in terms of access to technology, in terms of access to the best infrastructure, and the way even now these part of the world within this part of the world the tribes are living. Now, if we look at it, there are also lessons to be learned from these tribes. These tribes are built around the concept of supporting each other. So when they celebrate it together. And when these tribes are working, they basically are living in those, they are devoid of technology, but if we look at them, they are still celebrating really very well in terms of the type of health systems that they have, or the celebrations that they have, and the dances that they have. And that's something that I take as a gift when I worked in the project there. So these are the memories. The journey is as good as the experience that you get out of working on that project. So that's something that I would like to share. And then another inspiration I would say is, in today's times, what is relevant is, when we talk about healthcare, we talk about, say, Mother Teresa, which was like one of the most committed healthcare workers that we have seen in the history. And one of the statements, if we look at it, and it's all over the net, if you see, it's not about what you do, but how much love that you put in something that counts, which is so relevant now, and which is what we want to make sure when we are working on the healthcare field, is that we take these insights and we learn those good practices that are being implemented, and then put some love in those, in the efforts that we make in improving our systems, and then see the transformation that is going to happen. That's when is the real transformation that's going to happen. There are some uh, there are some live examples that I have given in uh, the slide deck. This is something based on my uh, data migrations that I did, which you can use. This is something which is kind of complexity that we have to get into when we are planning for a data migration. This is like when we work on systems, and believe you me, when we work on these systems, the kind of detail that we need to get into in preparing for the migrations, there are very few tools who can really provide that details, because that have the ability to provide you the details that the management these days want to look for in controlling controlling these projects. The details are something that, say for example, when we are say managing across the organizations or across the cities, and then we need to see, okay, at this point what is happening where, and that's what is really important. I have given some lessons learned. Now, something which I want to emphasize is that it's high time that we need to change our priorities, and that is something that is really not only for me but also everyone is demanding as well, that we need to make sure that the type of infrastructure or the kind of services that we are getting needs to really be improved upon if we have to undertake these healthcare changes. We need to increase the healthcare infrastructure, the number of bed counts, and the trainings for the common man. Similarly, the quality of food that we provide need to supplement the efforts of the local government and initiatives. Need to do what is necessary. What matters is what not only the governments are doing, because they will do what they are going to do, but what matters is what we as individuals are doing, what we as professionals are doing, whether we are able to learn about the healthcare, and whether we are able to adopt those new systems which can really help us in getting better in terms of our health and as well as the other people. Then we need to use this as an opportunity to really invite more international players to learn and to contribute to the healthcare systems. When we say international players, we basically need to have. Okay. Okay. Which healthcare service or digital service providers are there in India? India is the one which is driving the healthcare systems, uh, not only for India, but it's also driving. We Indians are driving the systems for a lot of countries. And if we say, when we have when we have organizations like Tata Consultancy Services, organizations like IBM, they have offices. We have organizations like Cognizant Technologies. We have number of IT organizations who are at the forefront of technology and who are driving this digital technologies across the world. We are at the forefront, so we are not behind anyone. It is just that we need to make some adjustments, and we need to really adopt towards what is changing in the market, and then put some energy behind it. Any other questions? People are requesting for feedback link. Our we have a we have a support team which will connect with you, and also will provide you the opportunity to provide your feedback. And thank you for patiently listening. I can't see the question. Recent recent advancement in healthcare. These days, robots are operating on live heart. If maybe I think you've not seen it, but there are uh, people, or within there are the robotics is being used in a lot of innovative ways. So in terms of providing support to the people who are disabled. One of my friends, Prashant, few days back on 5th of May, he delivered a lecture, and they have in university, I think, uh, they have developed some devices which basically help the patients in you know identifying their temperatures. They are all like AI devices. Similarly, robotics is actively being used in doing the service. There are multiple applications, or multiple uh, use cases where you have to really adapt and make changes. Thank you. Please provide your feedback, and please be safe. Wish you a good health, and really enjoyed your participation. And thank you for coming in such big numbers. And again, I must thank Praveen, and also Rahul Jeevane, who has been a force in the background to really make me, or convince me to get this ball rolling. I want to send some positive energy out there so that you guys are able to really take this and work in their streams. I don't want to. I want to. I want to part this presentation by saying a few words.